I'm going to start in this segment talking about LSU's baseball play on the field in Hoover. We will get to this coming weekend, the selection, the draw, all of that over the course of 2 hours. But let's start with what LSU did in Hoover. It started with the game against Texas A&M. And you decide to throw Cade Anderson in that game. You decide to send him out there for 84 pitches. I thought that was completely fine. And if you listened to me last week, I thought, hey, I'm going to throw Anderson and Eyanson in the first game and get them their work and then see what the rest of the weekend holds. And that is what Jay Johnson decided to do. Now, he may have done that because he thought it was vital for them to win that game, and he wanted his best two pitchers on the mound. It's conceivable. He may have done it for the reasons he said post-game, that he wanted to get both of them work while they're in Hoover. You're only guaranteed one game. He wanted to get them pitching on the same day so that they could have the same amount of rest for next week so that he could use either one of them on Friday if he wanted to. And he wanted to limit pitch count, and that happened. Either one of those are very plausible situations, and I don't really care what the answer is. It worked because you got them both out there. They both pitched well. You won the game. You got a second game, and you were able to use your bullpen in that game. So from a pitching perspective, LSU did its job in that game. Now, offensively, that's another can of worms entirely, because Texas A&M made an error on the left side of the infield and essentially dropped a run-scoring double in right field. You can score it whatever you want. I don't really care. I'm not offended that it was ruled a hit, but a college outfielder probably should make that play. A&M didn't. LSU scores 2 runs as a result of that ball being dropped, and that's half of LSU's offensive production in the game. You got the Fry home run, but really, you didn't do a ton offensively. You got 5 hits, but it was enough to beat Texas A&M, who was crippled. Laviollette's out there trying. He hits a single, great, but like you don't have Sorrell, you don't have Grahovic, obviously. You got Laviolette with one hand, and A&M was out of gas. They were out of pitching as well, and you got the win 4-3. And then you come back and play Ole Miss, and you faced really Ole Miss's bullpen. Now, Ole Miss's bullpen is not immensely short on talent. You watch the game, like they've got some guys that can run it up there in the mid to upper 90s, and that's all well and good, but you got 2 hits and didn't score. Offensively, LSU was bad in those 2 games. I pulled some of the numbers. On Saturday, LSU was shut out for the first time all year. The first 7 hitters in the order on Saturday were 0 for 22 with 7 strikeouts. It's not like you shuffled the deck in a big way. It was Curiel, Jones, Dickinson, Brown, Fry, Milam. Like, that's as good as you got. And those guys were 0 for 22 with 7 strikeouts. If you combine the 2 games, over 2 games, LSU got 6 hits total and only had 6 at-bats with a runner in scoring position in 2 games. It was just a stagnant malaise of ineffectiveness really the whole time. LSU was 1 for 19 in the 2 games with 2 outs in the inning. So you're not getting those big 2-out clutch hits. And they only got the leadoff man on 4 times in 17 innings. So if you're not getting guys on early in the inning and you're not driving guys in late in the inning, well, there's not a lot of time for you to score runs, and they didn't. So I don't understand why this offense is so frustratingly mediocre on the road and good at home. I can't come up with a good explanation for that. I can't just explain it away because they got 3 games against Missouri at home. They faced some good arms from Mississippi State at home, and they didn't crush Pico Khan, but they did score a lot of runs over the course of those games. I wrote this in my Around the Horn column on LouisianaSports.net, but like LSU scored 27 runs against Mississippi State at the box. They scored 21 runs on Tennessee at the box, 22 on Arkansas, 19 on Bama. These are tournament teams, host teams in 2 cases. On the road, against Auburn, 8. Against Texas A&M, 7. until you scored 20 on South Carolina, who stinks, I could take your 9 SEC series by run production. And the top 5 are the home series, and then the bottom 4 are road series. It was perfectly split. Now, South Carolina, you did score more on the road there than you did against Alabama by 1 run. So if we were ranking them 1 to 10, it would be 4 home, 1 road, 1 home, 4 road. That makes sense. Like, all of your good production is at home. I don't have a great reason for that. Like, here's the way I wrote it on the website. If you go to Austin, Texas, and you have a tough weekend at Dish Fault putting up a ton of runs, well, I get that. Texas has a lot of good pitchers. It's a big ballpark. Okay, like, that weekend is pretty easy to explain away. Sometimes you go to Auburn, and you just don't really play great for 3 days. And, like, that's no big deal. Like, it's 3 games out of 30. Sometimes you go to Norman, Oklahoma, and it's freezing freaking cold, and Kyson Witherspoon pitches the first game. Like, in that vacuum, just those 3 games, okay, I can see that being a tough place to score some runs. You go to the SEC tournament, and your team doesn't really show up. We've seen this forever and ever, amen. Not at LSU, but a lot. South Carolina under Ray Tanner never won any games in Hoover, and they were in Omaha in the finals 3 years in a row. Didn't do anything in the SEC tournament. I can look at all of these games in a vacuum and go, okay. But when they all add up, it's like, what am I missing here? Why can you throw 17 on the board in a game against Tennessee at home? Why can you light up Arkansas's bullpen in the first game and anybody they trotted out there in the second game at home? That's a really talented group of pitchers. And LSU is good at home, and they're not on the road. I can't figure that one out. I can figure out we don't hit lefties, we do hit righties. That makes sense. It's a completely different thing. I can get we don't handle velocity. If you get a guy up there that throws 98, LSU's overmatched. Well, that's a very diagnosable problem. I cannot come up with a good reason why LSU leaves the box and can't hit. I don't have it. The good news is that you don't have to leave the box for the next 2 weeks because you got a top 8. And you're not facing any SEC arms this weekend and probably not next weekend. So it's an odd thing that I can't really come up with. LSU's 30-5 at home and scores 8 runs a game in SEC play at home. In SEC road games, they averaged 4.5. It's almost half. I don't have a good explanation for it. But I'll tell you this. In the malaise and bore of that game that LSU put forth offensively against Ole Miss on Saturday, the other side of the equation, very exciting. Very exciting. Jaden Noot gets the start. 4 innings, 3 hits, only 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts and 2 walks. Thought he did an awesome job. Throwing pickoff throws away, whatever. But I love the fact that he got the start and was missing bats for a potent team. And then you went to Chase Shores. 48 pitches, gets through 2 2/3, doesn't allow a hit. Remember, hits have been the big thing for Chase Shores. His batting average against in SEC play late into the SEC season was over 310. Guys squaring him up. They're not squaring him up right now. I don't love the 3 walks, but I'm not asking for everything after a rough start for Chase Shores. I'm trying to find out what he can do, and he's throwing it over the plate now, and there's still a ton of life on that fastball. Apparently the stadium gun had him at 101, and that's great stuff to see. And then maybe more importantly, Jacob Meyers comes in and 4 strikeouts in 2 1/3, did not walk anybody, retired every hitter he faced. That is a difference maker. And I still, when he goes onto the mound, in the back of my brain, the sirens are going to be going off saying, this guy led the nation in walks 2 years in a row. Like, I can't get that out of my brain. It's an important stat. When a guy, it's not like, oh, he had a rough game where he walked 8 guys. Well, no, this is 2 years in a row. He walks a lot of guys. But if he throws it over the plate, which he's doing right now and has in multiple outings in a row, he's one of the toughest guys in LSU staff to hit. It's an upper 90s fastball from a ridiculously high arm slot, and the slider is really good. and he was awesome. So those three guys are kind of the guys stepping forward in the role we've been asking for since March. Like there was a point where you thought, okay, it's going to be Rizzy that's doing that. Okay, William Schmidt is growing up. He's going to handle that. At one point, Connor Benj was getting you out of a bunch of jams, and now he doesn't pitch. But we've gotten to the point where you're always pointing towards, and you know what Callan and Evans are going to have to be, but there's got to be gap fillers between Eyanson and Anderson and those guys. These are them. I don't know if it's Friday to start the game. I don't know if it's Friday to finish the game. I don't know if it's Sunday to start the game. I don't know if it's Monday to try to finish a regional. I don't know where the innings are going to come from. But it's reasonable to suggest Jaden Noot, Chase Shores, Jacob Meyers are going to be in the middle of this thing. They're on a tier above Connor Ware and William Schmidt and Maverick Rizzi and DJ Primo and all those guys. And they showed it in the last showcase on a big stage in front of a nice crowd against a good team that could have been a top 8 national seed. And they looked great. And they never had like a bump. It wasn't like, oh, he ran out of gas and then he got hit. No, like it was just good all the way. Those guys combined to hold Ole Miss to 2 runs on 3 hits. That's really, really good. So I'm frustrated, bewildered, disappointed is fine to say with what the offense was over the weekend. I understand there's a track record long enough now to have legitimate concerns about what this team can do offensively. But it's been really good at home, and they're going to play at home for 2 weeks if they can get through this one. And the pitching is starting to round into shape like it's really done every year Jay Johnson's been here. They've pitched their best late in the season all 3 years that Jay's been the coach. And that's Wes Johnson, and that's Jason Kelly, and now it's Yesky. So this is glass half full, glass half empty, wherever you want to stand on it. But there was some good, there was some bad, and I thought that the decision that Jay Johnson made to throw Anthony Eyanson and Cade Anderson in the first game of that regional was a good one that worked out. Now you come on back, LSU should be very rested, and we'll talk about what their draw is and what this weekend should look like.